Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today, as promised, I will show you the tools to be successful in makeup. Besides the makeup itself, of course. So let's start off with something pretty basic, some brushes for foundation, and another tool that I use for foundation that is actually my favorite, but let's start with this first. So as you can see, this right here is a regular foundation brush. It's pretty tight, pretty compact. That is so that when you put on the foundation, it doesn't streak. This is not my favorite tool. It's just not I don't know, I just don't like it, how it applies. I still haven't mastered it. Let's put it that way. I still haven't mastered it. I still feel a little streaky when I do use it. So I end up using either something like this, which is a buffing brush. So I actually prefer something like this when putting on some liquid foundation. Again, the bristles are pretty compact. It's a very tight brush, and it applies the foundation a lot smoother in my opinion. Again, this all comes down to personal preference, and if that is what we're speaking of, then this right here is my magic tool. I love beauty sponges, and I know that you guys probably know this as a beauty blender, and if you don't know this is a huge thing in the beauty community. This is magic right here. You moisten it because it comes in a little, I guess, shrunk up, you know, as a sponge. When it's dry, it's a little tighter. But once you wet it and it gets a little damp, it expands. And that works so that your foundation, well, A, spreads out evenly, and B, it doesn't suck up as much. As you can see, I've used mine to apply my makeup today, so it's a little dirty. But it doesn't soak up as much foundation as if it would have if it was a dry thing. It would have just sucked it right up because of, you know, it's nature. Sponges, you know, soak up things. So this right here, you are to put some foundation on, you dot it on liquid, of course, and then you bounce this on your face very gently. Nothing harsh, you don't like rub it in your face, you don't, you know, punch your face. It's something very, very light and gentle, and that gives you full coverage. You can also apply moisturizer, you can apply BB creams, CC creams, all sorts of things. This is what I prefer to use for foundations though. If you are gonna stick to something like powder, I would suggest going with this little guy right here. Of course, with powder, you're not gonna get that full coverage that you are looking for if that is what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a more natural finish, this is your man right here. This is what you should do. This is what you should lightly put all over your face. But if you wanna try this one right here, you are more than welcome to. Again, not my favorite applicator, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be yours. Let's move on. This is what I use to apply contour. It's a weird looking brush. It's a contour brush. You put it in the hollows of your cheek. So you would do that, and it would apply a very, I guess, harsh line on your face, and then you can buff it out with either something like this, or I prefer to use something a little bit bigger so that it distributes the product more even, and it's just a lot fluffier. So it just catches all of that powder and distributes it properly. So I first go in like this, it'll apply, it's not a harsh line, but it is a very concentrated color of line, so you can definitely see if you don't blend it out right. Then I would go with this and I would buff it out. Circular motions gets the trick going. It distributes all that powder evenly, and you get a very flawless finish with a combination such as this one. Again, you want something very dense for both of these brushes. This one dense and kind of stiff so that it doesn't, I guess, like puff all over the place. Because if you were to use something like this, then, you know, you would get something just all over the place, and then you would have just a muddy overall look. So again, contour right here. You can find this one, I believe, on the E.L.F website. This one comes with Morphe. It's a Morphe whole set. So if you are a beginner, I suggest going with something very inexpensive. This is actually really good. I've had it for a couple of years now, so I suggest going with E.L.F for beginners. Next, we have a blush brush. And that's exactly what it is for. Who would have known, right? But here we go. So blush brush, I usually go with something very fluffy, such as this one. Again, super fluffy, super soft, so that it doesn't give you that harsh finish. Nobody wants to walk around with just like 2 pink dots on your cheeks. And I usually go with something angled. Reason being is it catches your cheek just right and it puts the powder where it needs to. If you were to put it with something like this, it would just be like bam. And it would just give you a very harsh, like clown-like appearance, I guess. But this one, because it's so soft and it, you know, it moves with along your skin, it'll distribute the product very evenly, very sheer, very nice. I'm all about having it look natural. Even though obviously it looks like I have makeup on, I like to look very natural when I do have it on. I don't like it to be, you know, very noticeable. I don't like it to I don't like to have those like those dots right here of like, oh, this is my blush and the line where my contour is at. So I usually tend to go for fluffier brushes. They usually tend to give you the more, I guess, not sheer, but more natural finish. So it just looks better. Okay, moving on to some fan brushes. Now fan brushes come in different sizes. There's actually, believe it or not, a size a little bit smaller than this one. And what these are for, you can use these for sweeping off your bake. You can use these for some highlight. That's what I use them for. I use a kabuki brush, which I'll show you next, to sweep off any powder, any, you know, excess fallout or anything like that. These I use more for highlights. This is like a more concentrated highlight down the bridge of the nose if you wanted to, on the tip of the nose, on the, like right here on the cupid's bow. This one I use for the cheeks. It's perfect. It's super soft, super fluffy, and it picks up just the right amount of product to distribute evenly on your face and give you that natural, beautiful glow. This one, like I said, you can use for the more detailed parts. Usually I use it right under my eyebrow. If I need to put a lot more product, or not a lot, but a concentrated amount of product on my cheek, I will do that this way. Or I will rub it on the pan that I'm using and rub it this way so that just the little tip of the bristles get it, and I can run that down the bridge of my nose. And then I can do this and this, and it gives you that nice coverage all over. So again, fan brushes, I believe this one I got off of a website called Shop Miss A, and I'll actually link everything down below in the description box. But this one I got in a website called Shop Miss A. Believe it or not, this was $1, and it is one of my absolute favorite brushes. It's really good quality for $1. So I suggest looking into that. I believe this one was also like $1 or so. This is an E.L.F brush, and I think it came with a, it didn't come with, but it came with, it came in a kit that I bought, and it was like $5. So super inexpensive. If you take care of your brushes, they last you a long time, even if they're not the most, you know, expensive, if you're not buying like Burberry, because who has that kind of money, right? All right, so let's move on to some eye brushes. These are the ones that are gonna help you create all of the looks that your little heart desires. So let's start with these right here. These are two, as you can see, pretty large, very fluffy brushes. These are, I believe they're both from Morphe, but you can find these at E.L.F. You could find some at AOA Cosmetics. Again, I will link a couple of sets down below so that you guys can choose kind of your price range if that's what you want to do. If you want to dive into Morphe, I totally recommend it. They're great. They last a really long time. These are natural. These are synthetic. They have everything you can think of. I love them. But anywho, moving on. So these I use to set my concealer when I put on concealer as a base. You can use these to apply a large, I guess, amount of powder on a large area. You would just grab your little pan, get some of the base color that you want, and then just put it all over your eye, dust it all over your eye. This helps because when you go in for blending, if you just put the concealer, it might be a little difficult. It might tug at your eye. It might tug at the concealer. It might be a little blotchy. So I usually do concealer or some sort of base. Urban Decay is really good, but if you don't have that Urban Decay money to spend 20 bucks on a eyeshadow primer, I suggest doing something like NYX. I love NYX too. NYX has, it's a little wand that you like, you know, it comes out and you put it all over your lid, you pat it down, you let it dry, and then again, you use something like this to grab the base color out of your pan and then put it all over your eye. Again, that helps with blending once you start your eye makeup. So moving on, we have these brushes right here. As you can see, they're a little bit different. The ends of them, the tips of them are a little bit different. This is more dome shaped. This is what you would follow these brushes with. And usually that's what I follow it with. You put your base and then you're gonna put in your transition color. That is going to be the separation between this color right here and the color that you have up here. So it's kind of, think of it like a gradient. It'll go from like the dark to the light. And this brush right here will help you apply and smooth out that transition color that you put in your crease. I love this brush, it's super soft. Obviously you can't tell, but it's super soft. It blends like a dream, especially if your eyeshadow is of good quality. It blends it so well. And I go back and back and back to this brush every single time. I know that again, BH Cosmetics and E.L.F has similar brushes to this, so you don't have to splurge on a Morphe brush right away. You can use E.L.F, you can use BH Cosmetics. They work, trust me, I've used them before. I actually have some, and actually let me see if I can reach, here we go. See, BH Cosmetics right here. Again, fluffy brush, as long as you can blend, that's all you need. But this one right here blends like a dream. This is a Morphe E27. I recommend it. Again, everything's gonna be down in the link. But this one, again, you put your transition color and you use it very lightly. Usually I grab my brushes from down here and you do a windshield wiper motion. You blend and blend and blend until you get the right color that you're looking for, until you get the right gradient that you're looking for, so that you don't have that very harsh line cutting into your crease. You don't want that unless you are doing a cut crease. But even then, you still want a little bit of softness. You don't want to have, you know, like a line, like a pencil drawn line. It wouldn't look good. Following these, you have to have in your kit, here we go, look at this, blending brushes. They come in all different sizes. They come to like very tiny, actually tinier, tiny little brushes, to a little bit, you know, bigger. Again, depends on what you are going for as far as a look, but blending brushes are a must if you are trying to do any sort of eye color or eye look. These are essentially the same thing. They have the same purpose as the one that I just showed you, this bigger one, but this one helps you bring the gradient down. It helps you kind of like, you know, this area right here, this little V that we got going on right here. That's what something like this would help you with, because it's so tiny. And if we go smaller, that's even better. This one can help you get into your crease right here, and then just deepen that V right here so that you can get that nice dark pop of color. Okay, so after blending brushes, you want something like this, something with a little point. These are called pencil brushes. These help deliver a very saturated amount of color to your eye. So if you were doing a cut crease, you would use something like this. Actually, you would use something more like this. This would probably pick up too much color and it would be too wide, like too much for the look you're going for. So you would go with something a little bit smaller. This would help you get right in your crease. And the crease, for those of you who don't know, is that little like pocket almost that you get when you blink. So if you have eyes that are more forward, your crease is actually perfect for a lot of looks. I have more of a droopy, so as you can see, I have to look down for you to see this part, and because if I were to do this, it kind of disappears because I do have a hooded lid. But again, so crease, we can go over this in another video. Crease brush, again, it helps you deliver a very saturated color to the crease. You can actually use this for highlighting right here too. So again, a crease brush will help you put the color in that little crease of your eye, or you can actually use it to highlight right in here where something, you know, like this wouldn't be able to get as detailed as this. So you can use this to detail right in here, right underneath your brow bone, or again, the crease, which is what I use it most. I usually use something a little bit bigger for this inner part of the eye here, just because I like to have a pretty bright inner eye. But this would work too if you're trying to go for something a little bit more toned down. As you can see, mine is pretty bright right now, and that is because I used something like this with a bigger tip, so it will deliver a lot more product. Especially if you are to apply something like a highlighter to your eye and you wet the brush, that makes a huge difference with shades kind of like the one that I have inside of my eye right now. And we move on. So here we have a smudge brush, and that is exactly what it is used as. You can use this to smudge your, I guess, pencil. If you have a pencil and you put it on your right above your eyelashes or underneath. You can also use it to take some product, some color, and put it right underneath because this helps get right underneath those little, I guess, eyelashes right here. And you can smudge that color and smoke it out really nice. You couldn't use something like this because that would deliver so much product that you would have it like all the way down here. So that's what something like this is used for. As you can see, it's pretty flexible. So it's pretty soft, and that's kind of what you're looking for to get that smoky effect. You could use something stiffer, such as this. It might be uncomfortable to use, but if you are okay with that, then you know, who's gonna stop you? But you would use something like this for that like smoky under eye to get all of that nice little pop of color in there if that's what you're going for, or you can smudge the top part of your eye if you put pencil there. You can also use this to sort of set or smoke out a pencil. If you were to put it there, you can take some product and then just kind of like, you know, in a soft motion, you would kind of go back and forth and smoke it out until, you know, your heart is happy with the look. And then we have this bad boy right here. Excuse how dirty it is. I actually used it to do the eye makeup that you're seeing today, which by the way is Jaclyn Hill. It's her new palette, The Vault. It is amazing. If you have the chance to get it, I recommend it. If you don't, there are dupes. We can go over those in a different video. But anywho, back to brushes. So this one right here, I use it. It's a shader brush. It's a flat shader brush. This is used to deliver high, I guess, pigment to your eye because of how tight it is. As you can see, it's kind of tight, kind of stiff. It's also because it's kind of dirty. But I use this to put on either a concealer or to put on a base. If you have a little pot, I know NYX sells them, or if you have the Painterly pot by MAC, you can go in there and scoop some, brush some product on, and then you can put it on your eye, and when you blink, it'll tell you exactly where you need to cut that crease if that's what you're looking for. And then you would just kind of put it all over the eye area that, you know, has already been marked, and that will help you make a very defined cut in your crease. And that's actually what I use this for. I didn't exactly cut my crease here, but I did need to put a base color for the look that I'm going for today because this pigment is so bright, it's not as bright as I wanted it to, so I had to put something underneath it to make it pop. Again, we'll go over all of that in another video. So this right here, you can use it for that. You can actually use it for concealer if you wanted to. I personally don't use this type of brush for concealer. Again, I would go back to something like this. There are miniature versions of this that you can buy, and those fit right underneath your eye for concealer or for spot treating any, you know, blemishes or spots on your face. So yeah, this right here, again, I use for the concealer, but for the eye, not for the face. Okay, and we move on to this fun little guy right here. This, as you can see, is a dual-ended brush. It has a spoolie on one side and it has a sort of slanted tip, fine tip on this side. This is used for your eyebrows. Although, I do gotta say that sometimes I have used this to smudge the top liner on my eye, but mainly, traditionally, it is used for your eyebrows. I'm sorry. You grab your gel, if that's what you use, your pomade, if you have something like Anastasia, or you can do a pencil. If you do a pencil, I usually pencil it in. I try to kind of buff it out with this, and then finally I turn this over and then I just brush through to soften that up and to give it that final, you know, good, put together, blended look. This might be a little hard to master at first if you're trying to just draw it on your eyebrows with just a brush. It's kind of soft, so you have to be very careful and very precise as to where you want your product and how much product you want. Because if you're using something like a gel, this can apply a lot of product and give you those Sharpie brows. And while I don't judge anybody who has them, they're not what I prefer. So, you know, just a fair warning for all of you out there. If you want to try the gel liner, this would be your brush. You know, it'll work for you, but again, just be very careful when using it. But for those of you who do use pencil like I do, I usually put on the pencil, and I usually go heavy on the pencil at first, and then I use this to kind of blend it out and put it where I want to exactly, and then at the end I just go like this. And so again, you just brush through, and that does put the look all together. We're moving on to these two little things right here. And yes, they're well, this one is a tweezer, but this one is an eyelash tool. So with this, you grab the eyelash and then you put it on. So it kind of does one of these things where you grab it, and that's where you can, you know, learn how to place it. Some people might have a little bit of an issue with this because of how wide it is and how much, you know, it blocks your view when you're trying to use it. I usually recommend grabbing a mirror, looking down, grabbing the eyelash and putting it on once it is tacky. But if you're a little impatient, like I can be, what I usually do is grab something like this, which is a lot thinner, grab it right by the middle of the fake eyelash, not by the strip, but right above, just right above the strip. And then this would give you a better view if you're looking at a mirror right directly in front of you. Again, if you want to make it a little bit easier for yourself, you can grab a handheld mirror or something that comes in a palette and then look down, and this would give you the exact, you know, like measurement almost to put it right above your own lash line. And that's just how it looks more natural. But if you want to go a little bit higher, you know, because you're scared of the glue getting in your eyes, don't worry, it doesn't happen unless it's really, you know, if you pounded it on there. But otherwise, you just grab it, look down, pop them on, and they should be fine. And then you can just kind of wiggle them around if they're not in the right place. You can grab them by the little corners and just kind of tug at them until they're in the place that you'd like. Again, my personal preference is this guy right here, but you can use one of these. These, I believe, they sell on that website that I was talking about earlier, shopmissa.com. This one I think I got with some Ardell lashes, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't remember the price right now. It's probably somewhere under the $10 range with the lashes. So it's pretty inexpensive. But you can find these pretty much anywhere, drugstore. I know that big brands also have them. But honestly, if you have tweezers, you can use the tweezers that you go at your eyebrows with. So you don't have to have a special dedicated tool for it. And let's see. We also have two more things for you. Actually, three more things for you. This is something that I use and something that I personally prefer to have around. It's a lot better to have it than to not have it, I guess. This right here is used, as you can see, it's kind of dirty. Again, eye look today made me do this, but this is used to quick clean your brushes. So it's not wet, there's no water in here. As you can see, it's just all powder. But there's nothing in here, no liquids, no nothing. And this is just to quickly clean your brush. If you're transitioning colors, if you're going from like a dark shade and you need to use the same brush, if you only have a set of brushes, that's how I started out. If you only have a set of brushes, I do recommend having something like this around. I bought this at Marshall's for $4, believe it or not. They have these at Marshall's. You can find them at TJ Maxx. You can find them online as well. They might be a little bit pricier online just because of, you know, the whole convenience of having it shipped to your house and having to go look for it. But either way, I recommend having one of these around. You use it. Once you're done with the color that you are using, you will go in and kind of do one of these right here. And then your brush should be clean. Again, I use this brush for the eye look that I have on today. So as you can see, there's no product left in there. So again, this is called a Clean Sweep brush pad, makeup brush pad. I'm not sure what other companies call it, but these are pretty, again, easy to find. Definitely recommend it if you have one set or, you know, just a few brushes. It helps. You can use them for big brushes too. For example, if this was like a blush brush, you can go in here and do one of these, and it should take that color right off of the brush without having to wet it. It can, I guess you can do it without having to spray it with something and clean it and then wait for it to dry, or not wait for it to dry and pick up some color off of a pan and wet the pan. It'll compromise the color, you know, it gets complicated. And last, we have this right here. It's about that big. And this is a solid bar of soap for your brushes. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you should take care of your brushes, no matter how inexpensive they were. You don't want to keep throwing your money in the trash. I mean, at least I don't. If you have the money to do that, hey, absolute more power to you, but I definitely don't. So I tend to wash them every time I use them, just to kind of keep that dust off, to keep them off, you know, discolored, I guess. I don't like it because I use a lot of harsh colors sometimes. So I don't want them to be stained even after I clean them and clean them and clean them. So I use this. This is very simple to use. You go to your faucet or wherever it is that you clean your brushes. Usually I do it in the faucet or just a sink in the bathroom. You run your water. You dip your brush in the water just slightly. You don't want to wet your brush here. You don't want to brush it here. I mean, honestly, the tip is just more than enough. Reason being, there's glue in here that keeps all of this together. If that water is to get in here, it can cause the glue to, I guess, you know, be affected, and then your bristles start falling out. Sometimes like the actual brush itself falls out, and actually I'll show you a brush that happened to. See, it just fell right out because I wasn't careful with the water not getting in there. But again, if you're very careful, you wet it, with the wet brush, you go in here and you kind of sweep it around once or twice. Once you have enough product on your brush, you're gonna go on the palm of your hand or on a cleaning pad that they sell, and you're just gonna go at it until it's clean. You'll rinse it off and put it to dry. Okay, and now we move on to these little guys right here. I know you're probably wondering, like, Millie, what are you doing with a lighter? Well, this actually is used like this. It's actually not used like that. And please, if you do that, be very careful, as your eye and just skin in general is very sensitive to heat. But this, you typically give it a quick sweep, let it cool down just a little bit so that it's nice to touch in here, and then I'll go at it. Much like the hair on your head, your eyelashes react to the heat, so they stay curled a lot longer. This has worked for me. If you want to try it, be my guest, but please be very, very careful. Do not burn your eyelids. It is very painful, and honestly 0 of 10 would recommend to do that. So again, something like this, very quickly, let it cool off just a little bit. Touch it to the back of your hand. If it feels very, very lightly warm to the touch, that's when you would go in and curl your lashes. And I usually curl my lashes from the base. So you go as close to your, I guess, base as possible. And then I'll just kind of hold it there for a couple of seconds, and then I'll release, come up just a little bit, press it a little bit, and then go all the way to the tips and press them just a little bit gently. You don't have to do this every single time that you do that. You can do it in one sweep. One of these will get you one sweep. You don't have to, again, burn your eyelashes off. Please do not burn your eyelashes off. Please do not burn your eyelids. It is very painful. Be very careful when doing something like this. If you don't want to use a lighter, that is absolutely fine and completely understandable. Nobody wants, you know, the risk of having a scab on their eyelids because of beauty. It's not that serious. But if you wanted to use this by itself, that you absolutely can. Again, base, middle, top, and that will give you a nice even curl instead of breaking your lashes and then having just be like this. You want something more of this shape and not like this. This looks a little weird once you put mascara on. This looks a little bit more natural. I do not recommend putting this on your eyelashes after you put product on, just because it might damage them, it might pull them off, and it clumps them up, quite honestly. So I usually do that way before I put my mascara on, and after I do my mascara, there is no turning back. I do not put this back on my lashes. I barely have any to begin with, and I don't want to get rid of any more of them. And then last but not least, you're gonna be like, what? Are you serious right now? But yes, I am very serious. Right here. This is a great tool for beginners. So for beginners, or my advanced people too, I know some people use it too, you will take a little bit of Scotch tape. It doesn't have to be any particular, as long as it's not like super sticky, you know, cling things to the wall sticky. Just regular Scotch tape will do. You'll put this on the back of your hand and you'll take it off, you know, take off the really heavy glue first. And then you can put it on your eye like so to blend out your eyeshadow, to put on liner, so that when you take it off, you have a nice crisp line and you don't have the product bleeding out to this part. This is completely optional. You don't have to have that. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to use this. If you think you got it, hey, do it. Believe in yourself. But if you need a little help, I do suggest getting something like this. Again, a little bit goes a long way. Rubbing it off just a couple times to get that harsh glue in it so it doesn't tug on your eye, and then following your natural lash line from the bottom and then going this way right here. See? And then when you blend all your shadow and you put your eyeliner, I forgot for a second. When you put your eyeliner on and you take it off, you'll get a nice crisp line. You can actually blend that out with something like this, with no product on, just so it doesn't look so harsh. But yeah, this is a great tool for beginners. If you don't know how to put your eyeliner on and, you know, get that perfect little wing, this right here will be your best friend. I actually still use it. I don't have a wing today. I didn't feel very wingy. I felt like this was more than enough of a dramatic look. But for beginners, if you want to put this on your eye like so for that nice wing, you can. You don't have to do it if, you know, just solely for eyeshadows. You don't have to do it solely for eyeliner. You can do it for both. Either way, whatever's comfortable for you, that's what you put on and take off. I do recommend doing it before you put on your face products, simply because, I don't know if you can see, but you probably can't, but once you put on your foundation, your powders and stuff, if you are to put this on, it will strip some of your makeup off. So I usually recommend doing this towards the beginning. Actually, if you're gonna do your eyes first, this would be ideal. Do this, eyes first, and then you can put the rest of your face on. If you are to do what I just did and stick it on my face and remove some of your product, you can just take your beauty blender and again, pat it gently in the area that you stripped off your foundation and it should be good as new. Alright guys, so that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and that you got some knowledge off of it. If you still have questions, please feel free to drop a comment. You can follow me on Instagram, send me a DM. I will be more than happy to help you with any questions you have. I will be linking down below some brush kits that range from anything from like $1 or $2 to, you know, the more expensive like $50 ones if you want to make that long-term investment. But if not, I will definitely put all of that in the description box along with my social medias, MillyB_MUA for Instagram and Twitter, and also YouTube. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. What is that little thing called? Your tear duct. No, that's not a tear duct. That's a tear duct. Oh my god, what is that called? I forgot what something is called. What is this part called? Your inner
eye.
But then I'm gonna have to like Google it. The inner, it's called something and I completely blanked out just now. Okay, goodbye, sir.